everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That is moi. Thank you for joining me today, giving me just a little bit of your time. I appreciate you. Before I jump into anything, I have to say this. It's Tuesday. It's supposed to be nice. It's supposed to be terrific. It's wet outside. It's raining. It's scary. It's horrifying. And the roads are all slick and wet. So just drive safe. Seriously, just drive safe. Drive slow. Don't take any risks. If you've got to sit at a red light a little bit longer, it's okay. It's okay. Arrive alive. I care about you. And before we jump into the program, the meat and potatoes, the thing, what is it? Our raison d'etre, if you're French, our reason for being here. That is, we got to jump to the platforms. Got to tell you about the platforms, okay? Not the platform shoes, not the platform games, the platforms in which you can find us here at Hot News Talk Radio. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are our big spots there. You can search Hot News Talk Radio. We are the first thing that comes up. We do like to hear from you. We do see you guys out there liking different posts and commenting, and we always comment back. It's an interaction, okay? It's a back and forth. This isn't a monologue like most radio stations. This is a back and forth. You speak, we speak back, and we listen to you. So check us out. And if you'd like to listen to Hot News Talk Radio, there's a number of ways that you can do it. You can go to the YouTube page. We have all of our shows, our classic episodes. You never call them old. Classic episodes, all on YouTube. You can see what we look like, see what we're doing. And, of course, you can always check out any show at any point of the day. Mr. Tulis, Russell, with Binary, anything you want, okay? And, of course, this show, because shameless self-promotion is my deal. So we've got all of those things. And, of course, you can check us out on hotnewstalkradio.com and in the TuneIn Radio app. It's absolutely free if you have a mobile device. I highly encourage you to download it. Search Hot News Talk Radio in the search bar. Give us a follow and press play, and you'll have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. So, packed show today. A lot of things to talk about. We're getting closer to March Madness, the NCAA tournament. My birthday is in March, and that, I like to believe, is life's gift to me, is the NCAA tournament. Just gifted to me, 64 teams playing basketball in a gigantic tournament. Like, you cannot ask for a better birthday gift. And I've been watching UTC basketball this year, following the season. It's been a complete surprise to me how good UTC's been. Not that they weren't good before, but they've stepped it up another level even from last season. And I am surprised. I'm a little disappointed in myself. Haven't given UTC the love that they deserve, but that's the show today. At least the first half. And then we're going to get back into the whole Kurt Rambis on Twitter situation, because there's more things I'd like to talk about that. Just when it comes to how we treat people on the internet, I think that it's such a multi-layered story. We got to get in there. So before all that, let's talk some UTC basketball, because it's been an incredible season. The Mocs are 24-5. They did lose. They got beat down last Saturday, and they've got a game coming up against Samford this Sunday to get things back on track for them. But if UTC is able to win out for the rest of their schedule, not only could they be in the NCAA tournament, but they could be in the tournament with a high enough seeding to do something, to do some damage, to play Cinderella going to the ball in that tournament. They could be around a 14 seed, okay? And I think this is entirely possible because their RPI, which is how the NCAA ranks your strength of schedule, the difficulty of teams that you've played, UTC has taken on a few tough teams, a few tough opponents. And inside the state of Tennessee, UTC actually has the strongest strength of schedule. Okay, they've got a stronger strength of schedule than the Vols do. The Vols actually have the worst, the lowest. They're ranked at 119th, and they've got a 13-14 record. And it's not been a great season for them. There's a lot of transitioning going on, though, at UT. So we're going to see an improvement for them, I believe. Rick Barnes, their coach, this is his first season there, coming out from Texas. Heck of a coach. Can't say anything else about Rick Barnes. He's a very good coach. And they just need to have a couple of good seasons of recruiting to get back to that level where Tennessee basketball was at one point. Okay, like making the tournament annually and even winning a couple of rounds. I think you want to go deeper than that, but like let's focus on the early stuff. And then ETSU, Eastern Tennessee State, they've got the second lowest strength of schedule. MTSU is at 86. They're ranked 86th in the nation with an 18-8 record. And so, they've got a good strength of schedule, a good case for making the tournament, possibly as a 16 seed, possibly as a 15 seed. It just depends. Vanderbilt is ranked number 65th in the nation, and they're having a pretty decent season, 16-11 in the SEC, to be fair. So it's a tougher conference, but it's not a tough and particularly deep basketball conference. And I'd like to see Vanderbilt kind of step up the challenge a little bit, but that's a team that's going to probably find itself in the tournament as well, making some noise. And UTC, who can make it in here and be a 14th seed to probably take on a 3 at some point. Now, here's the thing about 14th seeds, because I was thinking about it, right? We know for a fact no 16th seed has ever won in the first round of the tournament, and 15s actually do beat 2s often enough. So I was looking at 14s and 3s. There is a precedent, by the way, for 14 seeds winning in the first round of the tournament. The last time UTC was in the tournament, they lost in the first round. I mean, they just got the floor mopped with them. And I believe it was to Ohio State. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I believe it was to Ohio State. Wasn't a good game at all. The Mocs got there, and it was just a situation where at least I was just happy to see them there, because anytime you're playing in the Southern Conference and you're considered a small school, just making the tournament is an accomplishment. But when you're a 14 seed, you shouldn't just be happy to be there. You can win in the NCAA tournament. Here's the precedent for 14 seeds beating 3 seeds. It's happened 20 times in the history of the tournament. And last year, we had 2. We had Georgia State beating Baylor 57-56, and UAB beating Iowa State 60-59. 2014 had Mercer beating Duke, which was a big one. 2013 brought us the fact that, you know what, maybe Ivy League schools are getting better at sports. Harvard beat New Mexico. I'll never forget the year 2005 when the Bucknell Bison beat Kansas 64-63, destroyed my whole bracket. Okay, I had Kansas winning the whole tournament, destroyed the whole thing, and I've never picked Kansas since. So that is coming up next month when I give you my tournament advice, how to pick a tournament, how to pick a bracket here. And I'm going to try and get everyone here in the station to fill out brackets with me, because this is going to be interesting. Mr. Judd is a sports fan. I'm a sports fan. Nobody else here is a sports fan. And usually how these things go, it's the non-sports fans that seem to pick these things correctly. So, they're picking on jersey color, and that mascot sounds cooler than that mascot. And so we just pick these things, and you know what? Away we go. The guys who are supposed to be studying this thing, I watch a ton of basketball, I'm going to be the one looking stupid at the end. That's just how it typically goes. And of course, one more game that I want to highlight as the precedent for 14 seed beating a 3 seed, UTC. UTC did it back in 97. They beat Georgia 73-70 in the 97 tournament, which was a huge upset. So again, there's a precedent here. You've got an opportunity, but I think you want to try and be a 14 seed and up, 14, 13 in that ballpark. Give yourself a puncher's chance to really advance in this tournament. And then, once you get out of the first round, it's anybody's guess where you stop. You start to build up that momentum. The thing about the NCAA tournament that makes it interesting to me is it doesn't necessarily crown who is the best team in the nation. Not necessarily, because it's a single elimination tournament. There's just so many variables, so many things that can go wrong. You could just have an off game, and you know what? Boom, you're out of the tournament. Here's the thing. If you are consistent, and if you're a little lucky and you get hot at the right time, you could find yourself deep in the tournament. And you've seen it happen to schools that we consider to be kind of tournament staples now. Valpo a few years ago, VCU did it. So, I mean, you've got a precedent there, and VCU is where Will Wade, the last coach of UTC, jumped onto. So, again, you've got situations where small schools make runs in the tournament, make names for themselves, and you just kind of become a basketball tournament staple. And I'm hoping that that happens for UTC. That would be so cool. They don't get enough love from a lot of people, but hey, I actually found a bunch of articles on ESPN about how we shouldn't sleep on UTC. They're a solid school, and they have a couple of great players, Casey Jones and Trey McLean, who returned from last season. I got the chance to watch them play last year live. Those dudes are athletes, averaging around 12 points a game. Jones is averaging 12.6, McLean averaging 12.1 points per game, and studs, the both of them, okay? Solid basketball players. Casey Jones is so athletic. Like when he goes to dunk, it looks so easy. It looks so easy, and he's a good defender to boot. So I'm not going to go down the whole roster or anything, but like those two guys especially are fantastic. UTC is a basketball team that I think is a complete team. Offensively, they play well. They move the ball around. They play as a team, and they look really good. They score around 76, 77 points a game, and they only allow 67. So again, on top of being a solid offensive unit, they play defense really, really well. So Chattanooga, we're Gig City. Can we be Upset City? I think so. There's no reason, okay? There's no reason why we can't. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose, and I'm talking about UTC. I'm talking UTC basketball because I think we don't just have a team that can make the tournament. And I think that we end up falling into this trap, right, where when it comes to making the tournament, and you're in a city of this size, we're not necessarily a basketball town, and the basketball team is good, even the Lady Mocs. The Lady Mocs have a penchant for just knocking the Vols out for whatever reason, the Lady Vols, and it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Like even when they're not good, they beat UT. It's insane. It's insane to me personally. Like I see it and I'm like, wow, how does this continue to happen? But the school gets good almost cyclically, and I don't think we're prepared for it when it happens. And I don't want this to be another situation where if UTC is able to make the tournament, and that's an if, okay? I'm going to pull their schedule up here because you've got to win out. You've got to win the rest of those remaining games if you want an opportunity to make the tournament. They've got a game against Samford coming up this Saturday night at 5, and they've got a game against VMI this coming Monday as well at 7 that is going to give them an opportunity to kind of lock up the Southern Conference as well. They have beaten a number of good teams. Obviously, they beat the teams in front of them as well. They beat Eastern Tennessee State, lost to Western Carolina, but they've beaten Mercer. And I mean, when they run into schools like the Citadel and Wofford, they don't just win. They crush them. Okay, they beat the Citadel 125 to 85. That is what we call a woodshed beating. Okay, where I'm from in Texas, that's a woodshed whooping. All right, you just don't see scores like that in college basketball or anywhere. Which I'm going to talk about a girls' high school basketball game that happened a couple of weeks back because, if anything. And this story always happens a couple of times, once every year or so. It's always girls basketball, and it's always some ridiculously lopsided score where you're just looking at the stat line and going, there is no way that this is possible. That one team of 5 people showed up to play basketball, and another team of 5 people showed up to play basketball, and then the score turns out being what you end up seeing at the end. Okay, and I don't want to spoil the score for you because I want to go down the story. And I want to ask you if they were running up the score. But you don't see numbers like 125 in college basketball games, especially ones that don't go into overtime. This didn't go into overtime. This is just one school steamrolling another school, okay? Schooling that school. Citadel just took it. I looked at that and I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm looking at the score now and I can't believe my eyes. Okay, and that was the first of this month. They played on the 1st of February, and it was such a thorough beating that they set a record for UTC. Okay, that's the most points that any team has ever scored in the history of, the school. We've got an incredible team here, and I don't want to be super duper homer, okay? Because that guy is annoying as well. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose, local show here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the temptation when you're a local radio host, when you're a local sports host, the temptation is to be super homer guy, okay? Where you are just so pro Chattanooga that you put the blinders on and you don't want to see reality, which is that, if I stood here and told you that Chattanooga could be a number 1 seed, no, they can't. Okay. They're a small school. The bias is towards these larger schools. It's just not happening. But what I am telling you is that you've got a school with 2 more games left against schools that they've already beaten and beaten fairly handily, might I add. And then on top of all of that, the squad itself is really good, and there's a precedent for schools in the range where they're projected to be a 14 seed. Okay, they're going to have to win the next 2 games. They're going to have to win the SoCon tournament, but they're projected to be a 14 seed because if you've watched them play, heck, if you've even been following just the box scores, if you've just been following the box scores, there is enough there to tell you that this team is a special team with a special group of guys. Coach Usman has got them playing at the highest level, and I think that they've tripped up in their last 2 out of their last 3 games they've lost, and I think that they've got to get their mojo back. But as we get closer to the tournament, this is when teams start to lock in again. You start off the season hot. A lot of times you start off on a run, and then you get a little lackadaisical. You're not exactly as sharp as you were at the beginning of the season. You get a little cocky, and then you stumble a little bit, lose a couple of games that you shouldn't lose. UTC shouldn't have lost either of those games, but I think that it's pretty well regarded around the media in the college basketball world that UTC is good enough to make the tournament and do some damage. So I'm excited. You should be excited too, okay? Because it's just one of those things where I'm like, wow, I'm actually impressed by what I'm seeing, and I'm going to try and find a way to get myself into one of these upcoming games here, or a tournament game, because support the school, okay? Support our local sports. We do not have an NBA team here. We do not have an NFL team here. So let's get out there and support our guys and support Chattanooga. Like we did a great job supporting the Mocs in football. They had a fantastic season. They were able to win in the first round of the playoffs. They weren't able to pull it together in the second round, but that game was even close too. Like that was a close game. So let's get out here for our guys in basketball, and we're going to be able to see them on national TV, nationally televised Mocs games. How does that sound to you? Sounds great to me. Okay. Now we've got some things coming up here in the show because I, for one, am a person that likes weird stories. Like I look for them. I search for strange stories that don't make any sense. And I really like weird sports scores. And it's always girls basketball, and girls basketball always leaves you with one team doing something incredibly well and the other team not doing as well. And the results are jarring. And to me, I don't know how this happens. And I want to have like a serious discussion about how this continues to happen in high school athletics. Another thing that I want to talk about is I'm going to start doing a NFL draft preview, okay, breakdown of SEC players. Around this time of year, There is no football to watch. Okay, I don't know if you've noticed. I think you might have noticed. So we will do draft breakdowns. Today is our first player. We're breaking down Dak Prescott of Mississippi State, and we'll be going through all of the SEC draft prospects as we get closer and closer to the NFL Draft Combine and the NFL Draft. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for giving me just a little bit of your time, and we'll talk about those things and more next.
We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply.
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a big orange fan, they've got an orange one. You know, all the women are loving the pink one and Tiffany blue. Plus, it has a lifetime warranty replacement. If the gun is stolen, all you need is your police report or receipt, and they'll replace it free. It has a 60-day full money-back guarantee. That's Carter Shooting Supply. They're in Harrison right there at 6210 Highway 58.
Are they online?
Yes, they are. It's cartershootingsupply.com, or give them a call, 423-344-1099. Now, this sale's not going to last too long, so you need to hurry up and get there. And they do have a great indoor shooting facility. You can get your Tennessee handgun carry permit also. That's Carter Shooting Supply, 423-344-1099. You need a place for your party or maybe a wedding reception for 100 or even more. Maybe you'd like to host a small trade show for your business, and you need a very affordable venue. Are you looking for a place for your birthday gala or services to start up a church? Look no further than the Hidden Gem in Hickson. It's an overlooked, newly appointed reception hall right here in Hickson, Tennessee. Big space, small price. That's right, big space, small price. Call Mr. Chu and ask for a tour. 316-7388. That's 423-316-7388. He'll tell you a lot more about the venue. Rent this venue today. Just call 423-316-7388 and ask for Mr. Chu.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operation of the court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little. Barry Abbott, treasurer.
Scattered showers and thunder showers will continue through the nighttime. Some of the rain locally heavy overnight, lows lower 50s. For Wednesday, continued wet and unsettled with more on and off showers, turning cooler too with dropping temperatures. Tomorrow night, rain showers changing to mountain snow showers with lows into the 30s. Old man winter's coming back, so let Dodge City Ski Shop keep you and your family toasty warm with long underwear, wool socks, and Columbia jackets for the entire family. Dodge City, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare.
On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. The CPD is searching for a gunman who opened fire on Monday on a maroon vehicle, striking a 14-year-old boy who was in the background. One photo shows him walking down Ocoee Street, and then in the next moment, he's holding a handgun. Police said that further investigations found that a juvenile was struck by gunfire when two unidentified individuals began shooting at each other. It's not clear if the two individuals who were firing on each other were injured by gunfire. The CPD is asking for your help. If you have any information, call 423-698-2525. The Bradley County Sheriff is calling it borderline vandalism. More than 100 tires were dumped behind the Faith Memorial Church on 17th Street in Cleveland, and the police are still trying to find who did it. Pastor Jimmy Dupree says that he could not believe his eyes when he looked behind one of the buildings on campus and found more than 120 tires in their backyard. And the Georgia House of Representatives has approved a bill which would allow the carrying of concealed weapons onto college campuses. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Lights out. You can see what that looks like on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio on our YouTube stream. Streaming now. Streaming live. You can always check us out there, hotnewstalkradio.com and the TuneIn Radio app. So here's the thing that I've been thinking. Okay. I've been thinking about Kurt Rambis. Yesterday, the whole story, the whole internet just lost its mind. Kurt Rambis liked a pornographic tweet on Twitter, followed some sites, some Twitter pages that also were sketchy, not safe for work, not suitable for work in nature, and the entire internet went after Kurt Rambis. Now, Kurt Rambis, just from the looks of it, the way that he liked those tweets and the way that he was following the pages that he was following, it appears to me that Kurt Rambis is A, not particularly internet savvy, and B, because he is not particularly internet savvy, did not know that those tweets, liking those tweets, liking those Twitter pages would be seen by everyone else. Which, if you're not a digital native, is an easy mistake to make. It's a very simple thing that you can do incorrectly and think that, okay, I'm liking these things in the privacy of my own home, in my own space, but actually the rest of the world is seeing it. Now, the issue comes in when the rest of the world sees it, what the rest of the world chooses to do. The Twitterverse, as it has been called by some people. I don't know what else to call it, okay? That sounds like a really pretentious name to call it. I'm not trying to be pretentious, but the Twitterverse, fine. You know, like what they do once they get it, and I'm a part of it, okay? I tweet as well, and I have on occasion tweeted mean things, okay? The FIFA president, Sepp Blatter, he's been banned from FIFA for life. I called him on Twitter and in a few other locations on the internet. I called him a weasel because he is a weasel. I regret nothing, and I do not rescind my statements. But here's the thing. You say mean stuff to people on the internet, and you don't have to put your name on it at all. And we all got in on the collective act of shaming Kurt Rambis, even though it was A, an accident, B, something that he didn't know. And yeah, fine, the Knicks did the thing where they said his account got hacked or whatever. And Kurt Rambis, of course, is in a position in the public eye. He coaches in New York. He's following a coach that also has sex problems, issues. He's going after his own Derek Fisher, coach of the Knicks before Kurt Rambis, going after players' wives and girlfriends. So that specific microscope is on New York and on the Knicks. And then here comes Kurt Rambis accidentally liking pornographic tweets. So when you combine all of these things, okay, the only problem left to have with Kurt is to shame him, to make him feel bad for what he's done, especially since he's married. It becomes a very easy thing to do, and we get to sit up on our high and mighty judgmental horse and just point shame at him. Shame on you, Kurt Rambis, for doing that thing that you did that we all know isn't good. The only issue that I have with that, and it is a very, very large issue, in fact, the issue that I have with that is that we democratized shaming. So when we shame other people, and John Ronson, who is a fantastic writer and journalist, basically in his book, So You've Been Publicly Shamed, goes down the way that we behave when we are online is that we start doing this thing where we just dispense justice everywhere. We think that we're doing the right thing, but in our dispensing justice, we are oftentimes cruel, we are oftentimes mean, and we're oftentimes degrading people who've made mistakes, and in so doing become ourselves awful people. And what's worse is we get a pass for the awful things that we're doing because, well, we're not the ones being shamed. You know, so the story about Justine Sacco. Justine Sacco is a woman who was flying to Africa on a flight. She tweeted, she had a tweet. It was a joke. It was a bad joke. It was clunky. It was unwieldy. It was stupid. The tweet was, I am going to Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white. And, you know, that's a terrible thing to tweet. That's like a really terrible thing to say. It's like, it's awful. She was trying to be funny. It wasn't funny. It was just dumb. But Justine Sacco's life got ruined because of that. By the time she landed, she'd been fired. For starters, the internet was taking glee in her firing. People were tweeting things like, I hope she gets fired. I'll be happy once that happens. I can't wait. I wish I could see the look on her face when she's landed and found out that she's been fired. Those people were tweeting that. People were saying, you know, I hope someone rapes that B word and gives her AIDS so she can find out that her skin color doesn't protect her. And it's just like that person who is standing there calling for rape does not get the shame that a woman who made an AIDS joke does. And that seems not just unfair, but really, truly, and actually wrong. And we're doing the same thing to Kurt Rambis. That Kurt Rambis does deserve a little bit of a talking to. But I'm sure the New York Knicks are doing that to him. I'm sure the Knicks are telling him, like, hey, Kurt, people can see that. You can't click on that. Because really, that's where this shouldn't have been a scandal. It really should have just stopped right there. Kurt, please stop clicking on those things. Everyone can see them. The end. Then they say he's been hacked, and we all move on happily ever after, hand in hand, skipping down the street. That's what should happen. What actually happened was people took screenshots of the things that he liked, of the pages that he was following. We started making jokes about Kurt Rambis, about, hey, does Kurt Rambis know that people can see what he's doing? Isn't it hilarious that Kurt Rambis doesn't know the Knicks head coaches, the gift that keeps on giving? And we don't have empathy for other people. And it's ridiculous. It's truly ridiculous. We don't have empathy for people. And I want to read a quote from John Ronson's book. Actually, I want to read a few quotes because I think they're relevant to not just that story, but just to everyday life as we get into a world where technology and the internet grow more and more important. This story that Kurt Rambis has been involved in, it has two purposes, I think. The first purpose is for us to see that story and go, you know what? Let's not tweet things recklessly. Let's be careful about the things that we're doing on social media, because if this ever happened to you, the internet will punish you. You know, it just takes one of these things to just go really viral and you're finished and you're being fired, because like average people like you and me, this happens to them all the time. Okay, that's thing one to take away from this. And thing two to take away from this is Kurt Rambis is a person that made a mistake, and he didn't even make a mistake against us. Okay, why don't we leave those people alone? Why don't we treat human beings like human beings? Okay, here's a quote from the book. A life had been ruined. And what was it for? Just some social media drama? I think our natural disposition as humans is to plod along until we get old and stop. But with social media, we've created a stage for constant artificial high drama. Every day, a new person emerges as a magnificent hero or a sickening villain. It's all very sweeping and not the way we actually are as people. That's not the way that Kurt Rambis is. Kurt Rambis is not some pervy dude. Okay, he is a person who accidentally who clicked on a pornographic tweet, and you know what? The reason why these pornographic Twitter accounts exist, they have hundreds of thousands of followers. And so why does Kurt Rambis get singled out? Because he's famous? Come on, man. That's so messed up. Like, I feel bad for the guy. Like, my heart actually goes out for Kurt Rambis, because what happened to him could happen to anybody. And it's just hard to watch. It's hard to watch the internet take a person's life and just tweak it out of context, out of control. We just take these things and make them say what we want to say, and it's just it's hard. It's hard to watch. And I don't know how we change this. I don't know in particular how we fix it. And I think that is the most disturbing part of it all. As I try and pull up the story here about the girls' basketball story that got out of hand. That just because my phone obviously refuses to obey me. It's hard to see where that becomes okay. Where the person who we're going after, how far is too far? Because here's the thing about the internet. The internet does not know how far is too far. Okay? Now, this is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. There's a high school basketball girls game. Okay? And I want to know. I want to know how this happens. I actually want to know how this works. Okay? It happened in the state of Ohio, because all of these things always seem to happen in Ohio. I'm not sure why. Cleveland High School girls basketball game between Gilmore Academy and Northeast Ohio College got ugly, and it got ugly fast. It wasn't expected to be a close game heading into the contest, with Gilmore ranked number 3 in Cleveland in the top 25, while their opponents are a small 400-person school that finished last year's season with a 1-12 record. Okay, and so the final score clearly reflected the large disparity between the two teams. But here's the thing, and I don't know if you've ever seen a score that looks like this. Tweet at me at SportsCloud on Twitter if you've ever seen a score that looks like this. And if you haven't, could someone explain to me how a score like this happens? Okay, Gilmore Academy beats Northeast Ohio College Prep 108-1. 108-1. Okay, and the coach said after the game, he's not running up the score. I'm sorry. If you dribble out every possession, and I understand, okay, I don't want to be part of the everybody gets a trophy, everybody's a winner, because that certainly wasn't the way it was for me growing up. I know that that's the perception about my generation, but when we lost games, we lost a lot of games bad when I was in high school. And you know what? We just took the lumps. We didn't all get a trophy, okay? We didn't all get a trophy. But when you are beating another school 108-1, at what point do you go, let's slow down here? I think you might need a mercy rule, okay? Because there was no way that game was fun for anybody involved. If even when you're winning 108-1, 108-1, it blows my mind that could even be a score that is possible. I'm shocked, okay? Color me shocked. 100% shocked. I'm looking at this score. It doesn't make any sense to me. Someone saw this score, tweeted it at ESPN Sports Center, because it doesn't look real. Okay? I'm like, this has to be one of those things that you're just like, maybe it's photoshopped. Okay? But I think lopsided high school games, maybe you should be able to stop them early. I used to be on the other side of this issue. Then I saw this score and went, no, you know what? You know what? No, I changed my mind. You've got to stop these games, man. You've got to stop these games. Okay. The final score. When Centennial Las Vegas girls basketball team played Bonanza earlier this season, the final score of that game was 51-2 at halftime. I'm looking at it's just a weird story to me. Okay, you try not to run up the score in a game, but if the other school is so bad that they get beaten 108-1, do they deserve it? Because they're just high school girls, man. Like, nobody deserves to be on the wrong end of a 108-1. Nobody deserves to be on the wrong end of a 58-1. That is a lot of points to see go by you, and that is a lot of points for you to not have. Okay? That is an awful lot of points that you ain't got. So I don't know where you go with that. I want to know how on earth this happens. Like, if you're a coach, you've pulled all your starters, okay? How do you get to 108 and you're not trying to run up the score? That I have some serious trouble believing. I have an awful lot of trouble believing that particular story. I think, Coach, you tell stories, sir.
I'm not having it.
I'm not having it. I don't buy that at all. Are you serious? There's no way you're not running up the score if you find your way to 108. Okay? And you didn't need to be at 108 because it's not like they made any shots from the field. They only scored 1 point. That means they made a free throw. That's ridiculous. You have to stop. I don't want to be the guy that's like, call off your dogs. I think that you should try and beat the opponent as solidly as you can beat the opponent, but I've changed my mind on that. If you find that you are getting close, an awful lot close to beating your opponent by greater than 100 points, call it off, man. Dribble it out on every possession, shoot a bad shot. You know why? Because they're not making any. And there's just got to be a point where you realize in the fourth quarter, they're not going to catch up, okay? They're not going to make up 60 points in one quarter. They couldn't score 2 in the other 3. That's madness. That is out of control to me. Like, I understand a stomping when I have seen a stomping. I've been involved in some pickup basketball games that just get out of hand so fast. And you know what we do in pickup basketball when a game starts to get that out of hand that fast? Do you know what we do? You call it and you start over. You say, you know what? I'm going to take the L and I'm going to start over. There is nothing soft about waving the white flag and saying, you know what? We lost. There's nothing wrong about saying that, you know what? We lost. Can we stop getting pounded, please? And if the other coach is like, you know what? We're not trying to run up the score.
I'm not having it.
I don't believe you. There's no way on earth. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for spending time with us today, joining us. Lord, I tell you, okay, it's one of those things that just, maybe it's just me, okay? Maybe it's just me. Am I crazy? Is that what it is? I don't know. You're beating them 108-1. You got to call it off. You've got to call it off. So I want to do an SEC preview. I want to do a preview of all the players entering the NFL draft, whereupon I basically go back and I watch tape and give you guys a breakdown of the player. I can't tell you where a guy gets drafted, okay? I'm sorry. I just don't have. Here's the 2 things that I can't do for you. I can't tell you where a guy deserves to be drafted necessarily because the whole draft process is wildly complicated. I've thought things before like there's no way on earth that a guy that plays the game like the way that Johnny Manziel does ever gets taken in the first round. Then he gets taken in the first round. Okay, fine. I thought Johnny Manziel was going to be a fantastic pro. So I was also very wrong about that. It happens, okay? Sometimes you say stuff and the stuff is wrong. It's really, really wrong. That's one of the more wrong things that I've ever said, that Johnny Manziel was going to be a fantastic pro. I did say it with the caveat of if he gets himself together. But even watching Johnny Manziel play, like take away the off-the-field stuff, Johnny Manziel's not a very good pro football player. Like he does a whole lot of running around and then throwing the ball up to Travis Benjamin. So maybe I was wrong about that. But I'm not going to be wrong about this. I think Dak Prescott has the potential to be a very good NFL player. I don't think he's going to be taken very high in the draft. I think initially that was a feeling that I had watching him play, especially watching him play this season. He threw for 4,435 yards, 27 touchdown passes, completing over 60% of his passes, and he was named a finalist for a number of awards. The Bulldogs had a 10-3 record this year. So I'm looking at Dak Prescott, and I'm looking at just the numbers. Statistically, it would appear that Dak Prescott has got it all. Not to mention, he's 6'2". He's 226 pounds, making him basically Donovan McNabb reincarnated. Like he's Donovan McNabb 2.0. And I think coming out of college, more accurate than McNabb was initially. He's just got a huge frame. He's a gigantic guy. Okay. And I think his NFL comparison on NFL.com is Brett Hundley, which I don't know about all that. I think that he's a better passer. He's more accurate. He's got good form. Okay. He doesn't have a gigantic wind up like Tebow did. I think he plants his feet very well. He throws from his feet, which actually puts him ahead of the curve of a guy like Cam Newton coming out, or even a Robert Griffin III, because of where he places his feet when he passes. He does a very good job of that. He also played behind a terrible offensive line in Mississippi State. I actually think that maybe that offensive line was so bad, it did him a disservice, because and you see it with quarterbacks. You can break quarterbacks fairly easily if they get hit early and they get hit often. And boy, let me tell you, Dak Prescott was on his back a lot this season. He was hit often, sacked a ton of times. And what that does to a quarterback is eventually you just start looking for the pressure. And that is one of his weaknesses. If you go back and watch those games with Mississippi State, especially in the second half of the season, Dak Prescott starts going through progressions, and then if he feels even a little bit of pressure, he's gone. He doesn't try and look downfield anymore. And as a result, his deep passing accuracy actually went down this season. The passes that he was able to complete down the field decreased. The accuracy on those intermediate to deep throws lost them because the poise in the pocket gone. He just got hit way too much. As soon as there's any pressure, he starts to slide away. He's too concerned with getting hit. He's too concerned with getting hit. To get the best out of Dak Prescott, and I'm glad that he's not projected to be a first rounder, and I'm glad he's not projected to really be one of those early going guys, because I think he's going to have to take time to develop. Okay, Dak Prescott is not your ready-made quarterback savior. He's going to have time to develop. He's got huge upside, huge potential. I really like him a lot in the NFL. If you give him 2 to 3 years to sit behind somebody and really get him to a team with an offensive line that's very good, so that he's not worried about pressure like he was at Mississippi State. Because if that's the case, I don't think that he's going to be able to develop nicely. But he's got all of the tools. He's also a great leader, smart guy. So he's got all the intangibles that you're looking for as well. Dak Prescott, that's the SEC preview of Dak Prescott, and we'll be going down some of the other players. We've got Reggie Ragland for you tomorrow here on Clutch with Keon Rose, and we're trying our best to line up some more guests. We're going to be talking on the show a little bit of NASCAR. Sam Blevins joins us as we break down the Daytona 500 and more. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I'll see you in 24 hours.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
In the middle of our street, Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at SabrinaRealty.com.
Our house in the middle of our street. Our house.
Do you feel better outside your home or business than